Hey everybody! After being away for over a week, I've got some work to do in my garden. The nice thing is while I was gone, we got some really nice rain showers over several days. It looks like our monsoon season kind of started setting up early, which is great because obviously everything grows really nicely when it gets rain. It grows better with rainwater than well water. So what I've already done this morning is fertilized. So I have fertilized my flower bed. And you can see it has loved all this rain. I even have my little annual volunteer sunflower right there, looking beautiful. And my sea holly still nice and pretty and blue. Some African daisies, my gomphrena. The lamb's ear is looking good. I've got zinnias, some blooming over here, right here. And I've got more that have buds on them, getting ready to bloom. This one over here in particular is looking really healthy with some nice blue buds on it. So I'm looking forward to that. Calendula is blooming. The honeyworts are blooming. I have decided that I really do like these honeyworts. Now, as I've said before, they're supposed to get taller, I believe. I believe it said they're supposed to get like 36 inches. But they are perennials, and they have a very delicate little flower on them, but I do like the way they look. So I'm looking forward to them filling in this bed and me even planting more in here. Now, last year, I bought some Veronica plants and planted them in here, and I thought, well, I guess they didn't come back, but you can see one is coming back right there. So that looks good. And of course all of my bells of Ireland are looking great. So I'm pleased with things. And I did, like I said, I fertilized this morning. That's my bee balm. It comes back every year. Another calendula down there. So I've got that task done. I also fertilized my vegetable garden and got some other chores here. So for whatever reason, this Veronica that I planted in the center of this pot this year just didn't survive. It was still green and blooming when I left, and I don't know if it's just waterlogged, but it is a perennial, so all I'm going to do today is cut it back and let it reflush out and cross our fingers. So I'm going to cut this one all the way to the ground and let it have a chance to flush back. Alright, and you can see the sweet alyssum's doing good. We're supposed to get more rain later today, so everything should be loving all this rain. The nice thing is that we are getting sunshine in the mornings and early afternoons, and it's not raining typically until later in the early evening. So the plants are not only getting fresh rainwater, but they're also getting sunshine. So that combination makes it all great. Now, one thing that didn't survive. So we planted these junipers a few years ago. We had 3, and one of them died, and we replaced it. And now you can see in the same spot, it has died again. I don't know what's going on there, but we're not going to keep replacing it. So that one's going to come out. I'm not going to do that today, but it's going to come out, and the other 2 will just have to do for now. And before I left, I trimmed all the flower heads. I deadheaded the flowers on these nepitas. So now nepitas don't like a whole lot of water, which is one of the reasons I put it kind of on this hillside so they wouldn't sit in water. And they've done really well this year. So they're probably wanting a little more sunshine than rain right now. But that's okay, they're surviving well. But they haven't come out with their second flush of flowers yet. Let's see if we can see. It looks like they might be trying to bud here and there. They will come out with another flush of flowers. So I do this every year after they have their first flush and they die. The flowers die, I mean. I deadhead it and it comes out with another one. Here's a good example. This one's already started coming out with another flush of flowers. So that's what they do. Alright, some of my flowers in my pots didn't make it. We have had some 100-degree days too. I also fertilize my flowers. These are my cosmos. They were growing really nicely and they kind of have stunted a little bit, but they're still looking good. The petunias, everything you can tell is just full of water. And they do have drainage holes. Now to my vegetable garden. You can see, those of you who like the Russian sages, they are in bloom right now. I just love that. It's like a blue haze around them, and I just think they're so pretty. Just the wildness of them is nice in our landscape. And my rose bush definitely needs some trimming. It has grown a lot with all the rain. But just like last year, I'll show you, the leafcutter bees are back. So they are munching on these leaves. And if you haven't seen the video that I did last year, what they do, the reason why they do this with the leaves on rose bushes is they take those and make nests out of those leaves. It's really fun to watch them, and I do have video of a leafcutter bee actually cutting a leaf, and I will link it in the description of this video so you can go back and watch that. It's at the end of a video I did last year. So I will be trimming this one today. So that may be the next thing I do, is go ahead and trim my rose bush today. All right. Alright, so that looks better. I can walk through it without getting snagged, and the top is cleaned up a little bit. I did take some of the long stems that had grown and I try to continue to train them going up. This has been covered completely before in this rose, and I did a rejuvenation chop because it was getting very leggy at the bottom. You can see it's pretty full now, but it had gotten leggy. So a few years back I did a rejuvenation chop down to probably 24 inches. And that was probably only, I'd have to go back and look. It was either last year or the year before. So roses grow pretty fast, these climbing roses. So it will be back up there in no time. I do see, though, a stem that I do need to cut here. He's kind of a wild one. So what I do, I've not shown you this before, is I go to whatever level I want to go to and I find a stem. Let's see if I can show this to you. Like this one that has multiple leaves on it. Some people say look for 5 leaves. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I'm going to cut right above that. Right above that one. Because I don't want this to be a super wild rose. Okay, you saw that cut didn't cut really well, so I think I'm going to need to sharpen my Felcos here and clean them up. Alright, so I'm done with that chore. Now on into the vegetable garden. I'm just going to go ahead and give you a view now, what it looks like right now. So this is after the rain and the winds last night. You can see the tomatoes, some of them are falling down. But everything looks great. So what I need to do is go through, possibly trim up some of the lowered limbs on some of these tomatoes, but definitely make sure they are standing straight up. So I will be tying them off to the trellising system again. They got a little heavy, and with the winds they just kind of fell off of it. So I will be helping those stand up again. Like I said, we're going to get more rain today, and usually when we get rain, we get winds first, blows a storm in, and then the rains come. So I want to prepare everything this morning while it's still somewhat cool out here. Alright, I'll get started. Now here's a perfect one to get started on. You can see totally flopped over. There's my frogs that I used to attach to the trellising system. So they came loose, and so that one needs help. I may just start with that one. And I want to be very careful because there are tomatoes on this. Let me show you. Don't want to knock them off. Right there. So let me just be careful with it and get it standing up again. I think my string broke. Yes, it did. There's the end. Alright, so I need to restring these before I get going on this. I've got to show you. There's a little mourning dove that he hangs out under my tomato plants, and he doesn't mind me at all. See him right there in the corner. See him a little bit. I think he hangs out in here because it's cool. The ground's wet, and it's in the shade in the mornings, and it's nice and cool. And I think it's lovely that he hangs out in here. Now, back to work. Now he's over here. Or she. She's a sweet little mourning dove. Alright, so you can see I have strung my new one here. Oops, get a better angle. I've strung my new string here. And I'm about to tie it off down here. I'm going make sure my tomatoes are trellised between these two strings here, especially this one right here. And I will use my little frog to attach it to rubber tubes too. Alright, you can see how by putting a new string on here, twine on here, and pulling it tight, I was able to pull these up. Now, if I had known that that one was broken, I would have done it first, because you can see now this one's really loose. So I'm going to redo this one, because the tighter it is, the more support it's going to give to my tomatoes. And you can see it's also pulled the tomatoes off of the pepper plants so they can get more sunshine and they have more room to grow. They're not being pushed by the tomato plants. I'm going to take care of redoing that top string to get that straighter. And I think I have string to redo on this side. I do, because you can see right here, that broke too. And this is twine. I keep saying string, but it's twine. I did have a lighter, thinner one on there, and that's what this one is. So now I have this new thicker twine. I mean, it's going to wear after time, but it's worked well. Okay. Alright, this looks so much better. As you can see, well, you can see my peppers now up here in the front. Tomatoes are now pulled back up, and this is so much tighter. And then I had to do these strings over here, tighten those up too, and fold those back. So now you can kind of see some of the tomatoes in here. There's one there. There's a few, but some of them are hidden. And now all I need to do is go through and kind of go through the tomato plants to see if there are some lower limbs that I need to trim off. If they're really close to the ground where they're almost dragging the ground, I definitely want to get those trimmed off so that the worms and bugs don't have more opportunity to climb on them, and they don't sit in the wet soil too and get diseased. But I just like having them a little bit higher. They just seem to do better. I don't want to take all the leaves off on the top because the leaves actually help to shade the fruit so that the plant or the fruit does not burn and scorch. So that's going to be my next step. And I'll kind of show you what I'm going to do, and I'll show you what it looks like at the end. So this tomato plant here, it does have some lower limbs. So particularly this one right here, you can see it growing right down there low. There's no need for that. I don't need that one. So I'll get rid of that one. I'll get rid of some of these little ones here, like this one, this one. What I do look for is whatever stem I want to take off, I want to make sure that if it is coming up straight, it doesn't already have tomatoes on it. I don't want to take anything off right now that has tomatoes on it. You can see those lovely ones in there. So I'll be careful with that. So It's a pretty simple thing. I like to use my little clippers here, but I'm just going to go in and clip it there. And what I do at the end of the season, I may or may not do this right now, is I clip and I just let it drop on the ground to rot. Now, what that does is it composts. I said rot. Compost is probably a better word, and it just enriches the soil. But for right now, I'm probably going to just put these into my compost bin. So I'm going to take this one right here, this little guy. And again, I'm going to look. I got this one right here. There's nothing on it. It's growing sideways. Take that one off. So I'm just going to keep doing that on all of my plants, and I'll show you what they look like when I'm done. Okay, a quick look at what I've done. You can see I've trimmed, and I can see tomatoes now. I can see inside there. So if I have any issues or if I have tomatoes, I can see them better. You can see how I trimmed everything up a little higher. There you go. And I even found a little cherry tomato growing. So there we go. I'm done with that chore. So that's the end of my chores for this morning. Thanks for watching and have a great day.